This video is brought to you by Squarespace. All of the photos in today's video were developed and scanned by 7ii Photo. If you want to get 10% off any developing and scanning order, you can do so now through February 11th. Check the information in the description for more details. Good morning, and by morning I mean 3 in the morning. I am jet lagged and can't sleep, so I thought it was a good opportunity to come out in the middle of the night, shoot some long exposures, which I haven't done in a long time. I looked out my bedroom window, saw some fog, figured it was meant to be. So kind of driving around Tacoma, trying to find where patches of fog are heavy, and kind of circled around this block. I've spotted a few things that might be worth shooting, starting with this house right behind me here that's got this light through the window with some nice kind of faded shades. It looks pretty sweet. So got the Mamiya 7, a couple rolls of Portra 800. See if I can get through both. Probably not. But yeah, let's load up a roll, wander about in the wee bit of the morning. Hey. Okay, 20-second exposure, f5.6. All right, here's our gap, 20 seconds. It is crazy how much more uneasy I am walking around at night by myself these days compared to even just a couple of years ago. All right, got this cool little situation with an old BMW and this kind of nice wood fence with some string lights on it and a tree right behind it. I'm liking the look of it. So f5.6, 10 seconds before reciprocity, after reciprocity, 20 seconds. Stopped here, got a little side street with a couple of cars off to the right, and I really like the way the light is hitting the cars and reflecting off of it. It's kind of the only reason I'm stopping at this composition, actually. Every little noise I'm like tweaking out about. 2 years ago, I'd just fucking lollygag around on the streets in the middle of the night. Not a care in the world. Now I'm like becoming so old and lame. Anyway, I opted for the Mamiya 7 tonight. I'd usually bring the Pentax 672 on something like this, but given how foggy it was, the Pentax 672 does not handle moisture well. I've had 2 of them brick up on me because they've gotten wet. And I'm not talking like dunked in water wet, I'm talking like they were just out in some more humid environments, and that is definitely a cause for concern with the Pentax. So, not saying it's not a cause of concern for the Mamiya. This is kind of the first time I've been out in conditions like this with the Mamiya, so fingers crossed it holds up a little bit better. Still plenty of electronics in this damn camera that could fail, so we'll see, but we're gonna roll with the Mamiya tonight. Obviously, 65mm lens, great lens for something like this, a little outing like this. Just using the trusty My Light Meter Pro app, which is what I've used for the past 4 years. Has never really steered me wrong, to be honest. I've made videos about using this app before, done other night photography outings, so I'll link those below or put a card up if you want to check those out. Kind of explain how I do my metering, but I essentially just kind of tap around throughout the frame, kind of see what the different exposures are looking like depending on the area of the composition. And right now I'm just seeing in between 8 and 13 seconds. So I'm gonna call it 10 again, and then from there I'll hop over to my reciprocity app, punch in 10 seconds, and that's how I'm getting the 19-second, when I'm just rounding up to 20 exposure. So yeah, all 3 frames so far have been 20 seconds after reciprocity. So unfortunately, pretty much all the fog is gone. And actually kind of rolled out the second I started driving around. So the fog was gonna make a lot of these photos, and now I don't have any fog to work with, which is fine. You know, essentially just driving around doing some normal long exposures, but trying to find things that stand out a little bit more than just a cute house, you know? So ideally, I'd like to shoot this scene from just over here. Have the front of the house kind of be on the left side of the frame. This tree kind of wrapping over the house in the composition. But this street sign is right in the middle of that whole kind of framing option. So I think I'm gonna have to go from right here, which is not ideal. I actually don't think it'll look that great, but we got to make do with what we have to work with. So a little bit of a more interesting lighting situation on this one, because we have this tree that's all lit up, reasonably bright, but if we just take a step back, look at the whole composition, everything is reasonably even, except for maybe the far right part of the house. So shouldn't be too bad. Definitely gonna err on the side of overexposing if it looks like I need to. So all I'm gonna do is pull up my app, and I am just basically zoning in on like the chimney area. And what I'm seeing is about 1 second. So that 1 second is gonna be a bit bright for these tree lights, because if we hit the tree lights, see it drops down to about a half a second. But with film, remember, it's better to overexpose if you have to. However, for this composition, since I'm a little bit closer to my main subject, which is the tree, I need to close my aperture down a little bit to like f11 so that I can make sure everything is in focus. So that's gonna take it up from 1 second to 4 seconds before reciprocity. For focusing, what I'm essentially doing is just bringing my f-stop that I'm shooting at to infinity. And at f11, my close focus distance is 10 feet, which is plenty. So I'm actually gonna bring that a little bit past infinity there. f11 will cover from about 12 feet onward. So that'll ensure that the tree is in focus, that'll ensure that the house is in focus, and we should get a nice sharp photo. So with f8 being a 4 second exposure, and bring that into my reciprocity app, and we're looking at 6 seconds total, we will fire away. I might have to take one more sneaky photo of this house, because I just noticed the moon is poking out from behind some clouds just over the right side of this house. So I can get something framed up. That might be kind of cool, even though it'll probably just be a white blob in the photo that nobody will really even be able to tell what it is. But when you're shooting something like the moon, you got to remember that it's moving across the sky. So, you know, if you're shooting it like f16, your exposure is getting a little bit longer. You got to take that into consideration, because it will start to get some moon trails, I guess you could call it. But yeah, I should be fine at 8 seconds. So right as I'm about to leave, I turn around and I see this, which kind of seems like nothing, but I love that there's a little kid's toy left out in the lawn. Otherwise, I mean, I wouldn't even consider shooting this photo, but I think that one single element is enough to have me pull the trigger. Now the key with this one is to get up high enough so that the little toy in the lawn doesn't blend in, doesn't overlap with the house in the background. Okay, 10 seconds at f8. It's gonna be 20 seconds. Just heard another round of gunshots, reasonably close. I was gonna use these last 4 frames to shoot photos of Christmas lights, you know, spread some holiday cheer, get in the Christmas spirit a little bit. But then I came across this busted up car, and that inner film photographer in me just started shaking. Had to shoot it, so here we are. And I actually wish I had the 43mm lens for the Mamiya. Completely forgot to bring it, don't know why. But I'd love to get really close and shoot kind of like a in your face, super wide angle shot of this, but It's all right, the 65 will be fine. Because of the subject matter, where you put the camera and how you frame this totally changes the feeling the viewer's gonna have when they look at it. Like from up high, this kind of just feels like a news reporter shot, you know? But from down low, I don't know, this conveys a different feeling that I'm too stupid to figure out how to describe. All right, F11, 15 seconds. Gonna be 30 seconds after reciprocity. So I'm using Portra 800 tonight, and I really prefer to use 800 whenever I'm doing long exposures. You can totally use 400. I've used 400 plenty of times. It's really smooth, looks beautiful. For me though, I found myself in situations sometimes where I want to take a bit of a long exposure, you know, where the exposure time can be 2.5 minutes, 5 minutes. And once you start taking into account reciprocity, that extra stop you get with 800 speed can shave so much time off your exposure, which for me, in a situation like this, sitting here freezing cold, all I'm thinking about is a hot chocolate, you know, 2.5 minutes off my exposure, that's pretty nice. When you're out, you know, in the middle of nowhere and all you're dealing with is moonlight or, you know, trying to shoot star trails, 800 speed can really help because those exposure times can get, you know, up to 5, 10, 15 minutes long. And when you're talking about a 10-minute long exposure after reciprocity, that's 40 minutes, you know. But if you have an extra stop to work with, that 10 minutes can drop down to 5, and now you're only looking at 15 minutes. So when you're shooting film and you have to take into consideration reciprocity, I just love having that extra stop of 800 speed to work with, because you never know when you're going to run into a situation where you want to shoot a 15-minute exposure and, oh God, now I'm sitting here for 40 minutes getting borderline frostbite just for some shitty photograph. It's probably not going to turn out, you know. So just something to think about. I'm going to try to frame the house in the background a bit. It's kind of, there's no lights on the house at all. I wish there was, but I'm thinking maybe it can work to my advantage because it's completely dark. So if just a little bit of the house kind of comes into frame, it might look a bit ominous, especially given that we're shooting a, you know, busted up car here. So okay, I'm doing one more because I can't help myself. I am just a no good, dirty little film photographer. I'm gonna go 40 seconds total after reciprocity, just to try to get a little bit more information in the darker parts of the image, which is like the whole backdrop pretty much. So 40 seconds coming in hot. All right, last shot of the roll. This house right here, only reason I'm shooting it is because it's pretty damn aesthetically pleasing, if I do say so myself. Okay, F8 for 1 minute on this one. Okay, my shutter cable didn't stick for some reason, so it only went off for about 2 seconds. But what I can do is, since I didn't touch the camera, the tripod at all, I can double exposure this, I think, and save it. Alright, so switch the multi-exposure lever over. Now if I advance, it won't actually wind the film, just cock the shutter. And now I should be able to finish out the remaining minute of this exposure here.
This photo is perhaps
in my opinion, one of the best photographs I've ever taken. And if you know me, you know it takes a lot for me to say something like that. I mean, 99% of the time I get scans back from the lab and it'll take me months before I can even remotely appreciate those images as being somewhat decent. But when I got this scan back from the lab, I was sitting on the couch with my girlfriend. I about freaked out. I haven't reacted that way to a photo of mine in a long time, and it felt damn good. Now, you know I'm not great at breaking down images from a technical standpoint, but a couple of things that stand out to me in this particular frame are, one, the color of the grass and the sky. It really adds this eerie twilight element to the photo, helps bring out that painting type feel. And then the interesting 5-way intersection in the crosswalk isn't something you see every day on a crosswalk, and I think it adds a nice point of interest and something unique to the frame. But otherwise, I'm just pumped on the colors, the exposure, and the way it's framed. I think it's just one of my strongest photos I've ever taken, and I'm so pumped on it actually that I'm doing a limited print release of it on my website. So there's 10 copies available, signed and numbered. If you're interested in picking one up, you can head over to brayhensiker.com/prints or check out the link in the description. And it's also funny to think that I almost didn't end up with this frame because of that malfunction with my shutter cable. Had I not had the multi-exposure mode on the Mamiya 7ii II, I mean, seriously, there's no way I would have loaded up another roll and taken this image. I was so done at this point, so cold and tired. Last frame of the roll. You know, if I wasn't able to multi-exposure this and save this photo, I wouldn't have taken the time to reshoot it. And I probably never would have returned to this location at that time of day to shoot this frame again. So the multi-exposure mode literally is the reason why I ended up with this photo, which ended up being, in my opinion, one of the best photos I've ever taken. Kind of crazy to think about. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. Lastly, I'd just like to take a moment to thank the sponsor of today's video, Squarespace. Once I got the scan back of this particular photo, I knew I wanted to do a print release of it, but I didn't previously have a store set up on my site. So I thought it'd be a great opportunity to make a little storefront on my website for this print, as well as any other future prints or books I decide to release. And literally within 20 minutes, I had my product listed on my store, multiple payment methods available, and shipping and taxes squared away. It couldn't have been a simpler process. And that's really the name of the game when it comes to Squarespace. Whether you're making a website to host your portfolio or build an online store, everything is extremely intuitive. And they have fantastic customer service available if you do run into any roadblocks. This will be my 9th year hosting my website with Squarespace, and I'm looking forward to continue growing my photography career by utilizing this powerful platform. If you're looking to create a website of your own and want to receive 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain, head over to squarespace.com/Bray or use code BRAY at checkout to do so. So these photos that I'm taking tonight, I wouldn't even say I'm trying to, build my portfolio with these kinds of images anymore. There was a time, a few years ago, kind of in my honeymoon phase of film photography, where I'd walk around a neighborhood and just shoot a roll of film, or come out at night and just shoot long exposures of houses and random shit and have a grand old time. And, the fact that over the past few years, my interests have kind of shifted, and I don't find this kind of work as fulfilling as I used to. I think a lot of people, have similar situations, and that can really be off-putting to them, a little discouraging, a little intimidating. You start becoming unsure about yourself as a artist, or whatever artistic field you're in, photographer, videographer, musician, whatever it may be. That can be a scary feeling, but I think it's important to embrace that and understand that that's part of the process. I mean, you're not only adapting as a artist, you're adapting as a human being. Things are going to change. So while I'm walking around tonight and I'm taking these photos, these photos aren't going to really mean a whole lot to me. I'm not going to really give two shits about the photos, to be honest with you. But when I got up at 2 in the morning and I couldn't sleep, you know, yeah, I would have much rather have sat in my warm bed and watched a documentary about emperor penguins than coming out here in 36-degree weather in the middle of the night, roaming around the neighborhoods like some creep, not knowing who I'm going to run into or what situation I'm going to get in. But as an artist, it is so important to just make shit. Get out there, go through the repetitions. Just the act of being out here, using my camera, taking photos. I mean, this is a much better way to spend my time while I can't sleep because I'm jet lagged than sitting in my bed, you know, messing around on my phone, getting sucked into the Instagram Reels vortex, the fucking void, you know. I'm really glad I came out here tonight. That's what I'm trying to say, I guess. I think it's just important to get out there. You know, I used to kind of have this feeling like, if you're not feeling it, you know, just wait until that spark comes back. And now I'm kind of getting the point of people who are like, no, just go out and go do it. Just get out there, go do it. Because after my second or third photo that I took, man, I started, you know, getting in the groove again. And again, it's not because of the photos that I'm taking, but it's just because of the experience. It's because of the tactile experience of, you know, getting out there, getting your brain working again in that creative sense. Because, man, I've been doing so much consuming lately and not enough creating. And a lot of that has to do with just being comfortable, you know, in the situation that I'm in my house, just chilling on the couch, sitting on YouTube and Instagram and just doom scrolling, consuming. So important to say, okay, I gotta stop. I gotta get back to creating. And that's what I did tonight, and I'm really happy that I did. So, philosophical Bray just had a moment there.